Hi, Jimmy. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Shadab. Hello, everybody out there in AI world.
A new week, new stuff we'll talk about. So, today we're going to talk about the idea that Bernie Sanders mentioned, why not 4-day work week with the benefit of the AI productivity that will come to the corporate. Plus, we will also talk about, the lawsuit that has been going on, and Meta got some relief on the copyrights violation. Plus, a little bit awareness about the new term context engineering, as well as the prompt of the week, which we will cover with the how to create a weekly status report.
And not to be forgotten, we'll also cover some things as it relates to Agentforce 3, at least what's been announced. And there's been some things from Anthropic around their Claude app, aka inside of Artifacts, and also Google Labs launching an interesting little app that we'll get into.
All that and more. Stay tuned for a quick introduction. Greetings. Welcome to the AI Files podcast. If you're looking to stay up to date on the AI, this is the podcast for you. I'm Shadab Hussain. I'm the director of AI at Microsoft, and I'm your co-host.
Hello, everybody. Jamie Basilico, as you know already. I'm the other co-host here for the AI Files. My day job is a data and AI technical specialist and architect. And as a reminder, please note this is not an official Microsoft channel, so the views and opinions expressed by myself and Shadab are our own and do not represent the views of Microsoft.
This week, one of the most famous podcasts is Joe Rogan's podcast, and he had Bernie Sanders invited. And Bernie Sanders, after that, in that interview, Bernie Sanders talked about, I'm quoting him, quote, technology is going to work to improve us, not just the people who own the technology and the CEOs of large corporations. You are a worker, your productivity is increasing because we give you AI, right? Instead of throwing you out on the street, I'm going to reduce your work week to 32 hours, unquote. And I think this is something that hit the nerves with a lot of people because people are anxious about the job security, etc. While people also see the benefit of AI, so I think that's something what he's talking about is, and I think a lot of people will agree, and I also agree that the part of the benefit of AI has to also transfer to the employees and the workers, right? It's not just about having more profits and more revenue, and then entire all those things continue to transfer into shareholders and the top leaders. I think there has to be a benefit. There has to be transformation of the society. Why not? Yeah, 4-day work week sounds great. To be honest, as a full family, you can always use the extra time, which you always feel short of. To be honest, so I'm supportive of that idea, honestly. And he continued talking about it. He said that, um, and by the way, not a radical idea. Sandra said there are companies around the world that are doing it with some success. Let's use technology to benefit workers. That means that gives you more time with your family and friends and for education and whatever the hell you want to do. And that's true. I think there have been a lot of pilots and prototypes around this. In fact, Microsoft Japan did that 4-day work week pilot in 2019, which actually led to a reported 40% increase in productivity. Now, I'm not sure if that actually was ever cemented permanently, but I think there have been a lot of places. In fact, Iceland has actually 90% of those workers and companies there have actually already transitioned to 4-day work week. There are plenty of this going on in the Europe, right? The UK, for instance, 61 companies have piloted a 4-day work week, and most of them have found that the productivity actually, if not improved, at least remain same as the 5-day work week brings. So I think the fact suggests that it is something doable. It's something, in fact, will improve the productivity, give people more time, as well as can help actually companies as well. Because remember, if people are not there in the office 5 days, not only their productivity is probably better, but also they will also save on the operational costs, right, of keeping the offices and the all those operational costs. So there is a benefit for everybody in this idea. The only thing is that I feel that it's too bold, and sometimes the companies may balk on this because they may feel that, oh, it might set wrong precedent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. I mean, on paper, this looks perfect, right? AI not only helps you be more productive, it reduces your workload, and you get to spend more time with your family. Sign me up. I don't think anybody would balk at that. But I'll put my skepticism, my skeptical hat on that. Companies are companies. They look out for the bottom line. And, if they're able to get more work out of us and do it maybe even with some not as many people, I think they will do that. And that's why I say a little skeptical, but makes sense from it makes sense from the standpoint. Yeah, we can do more with less, and we could reap those benefits in terms of time. So I hope Bernie's right.
I'm in.
So let's move over to Salesforce, talking about AI and agents. So Salesforce has Agentforce. They released their launch of, or at least announced it. It's sort of a soft launch, in my opinion. Some things are coming in, some things are coming in later this summer. But Agentforce-3, they're touting it as a leap forward in terms of their enterprise AI agent capability. So this definitely is a major upgrade. It's not like a small little piece, but this looks to do at least three major pillars, at least the way I look at it, and the way that they're kind of touting it through their release and their website and videos that you can go watch. But there's three components to this. One is their command center, which is a way of looking at the observability of what's going on with the agents, like what's being used, what's the real-time performance of these, what type of data is being constructed, who's actually using it. So it's going to give you all of this information that Agentforce is going to have at its fingertips based upon use through Atlas, which is the underpinning components of this. What's also important, what Salesforce announced with Agentforce, is that you'll be able to actually integrate this data with tools that you may actually be using already, things like Datadog and Splunk for that interactive tracking and connecting back to anything else that you might have with the enterprise. So if that was just it, I mean, that's important in and of itself. But one of the other things that they're focusing on is interoperability. And I don't think you could turn anywhere to any company and somebody not talking about the interoperability based upon either the model context protocol or the Google agent protocol. So what they're touting is a couple of different things within Agentforce 3.0. And this is the ability for native MCP support throughout Agentforce. But that's the piece that's actually coming a little bit later. They think on their website it's later on this summer. It might be August timeframe. But what they are doing is also allowing for connections to other MCP servers that are out there. So you can actually stand up MCP servers through some of the partnerships that they have currently today. So that is one of the things that is very attractive. So yes, you'll be able to connect in natively as to MCP servers for these different tools, but they're going to allow you to do that today, and that's the part that's actually here as we speak. So that's important. They're also touting the ability to connect into other agents through the 808 protocol. Again, that's coming a little bit later. And that's why I said this is sort of a soft launch. Some are really rooted in the announcements. But they do say, this will be a plug and play based on connectivity to their different partners currently today. They're touting partners like PayPal, Stripe, AWS. A great example there is tying back into Anthropic Claude models inside of AWS. So being able to tie into these open standards. The last main pillar on this is just an enhanced architecture. So they've updated the Atlas architecture, which is the underpinnings inside of Agentforce, and the focus is on performance. So 50% lower latency in terms of communication with these agents. Also, greater accuracy, which is kind of important, right? So when it's doing web searches or doing inline citations, it will be more accurate. So that is something that we all certainly look to ensure that is there with our agents. They also have improved within Atlas architecture the ability for reliability or resiliency, being able to do automated model failovers that these agents are actually using. So Agentforce also now supports several different languages, so 6 new languages. That's available in obviously Canada, UK, Japan, and Brazil. But there's also several other actions that are um, being included, and that's really going to help with faster deployment of these agents. Things like actions that relate to healthcare, finance, and retail. So less that you have to do, which will speed up the quote unquote development and deployment of those agents. They did tout a whole bunch of companies that are using this today, everything from like PepsiCo and 1-800 Accountants. They're already using these things, and at least on paper, talking about measurable gains that they're actually seeing this from everything for not only deployment, but then real life use scenarios in terms of like handling case times and how they're seeing a reduction overall for things like patient support and subscriber retention for at least those customers that are using it. I did mention, this is somewhat of a launch, somewhat of an announcement. The native MCP support is coming later on this summer. There will be additional things that relate to enhanced testing tools as part of the platform. And all this is supposed to be released, roughly by August of this year. So we're not talking that long, 2 months from now. So it seems to be pretty interesting. So it adds more capabilities to, at least companies that are using Salesforce are going to jump in and use Agentforce, more enterprise capabilities that are afforded to enterprise organizations today.
There is a lawsuit that was going on, right, where basically Meta was in the lawsuit over training AI models on the copyrighted books. Now, what happened was that the federal judge actually has sided with Meta, and it says that but it says that basically that lawsuit has been kind of they say that okay, that this falls under the fair use doctrine of copyright law, and thus was legal. So that AI training was basically legal in that view. But I just want to caution, right, because this is very important, because judge also made very clear that this decision does not mean that all AI model training on copyrighted works is legal, but rather that the plaintiffs in this case made the wrong arguments and failed to develop sufficient evidences in support of the right ones. So this is basically not the not is it this ruling does not stand for the proposition that Meta's use of copyrighted materials to train its language models is lawful. It basically means that in cases involving users like Meta, it seems like the plaintiff will often win, at least where those cases have better developed records on the market effects of the defendant's use. So I think, this was more of a technical merit kind of case where essentially the plaintiff, the party who actually brought the lawsuit against Meta, did not really put forth sufficient evidences and good arguments to win the case, and that's the only thing that our judge has observed. So it does not mean that the companies, the LLMs makers are actually off the hook if the plaintiffs can prove and give the evidence that yes, how this is actually hurting their copyright and how the work is actually reflective of the copyright work directly and it is impacting their sales and the revenue. That's where actually they can win, and that's what was lacking in this case. There was a similar another case as well where similar result happened, like Anthropic was actually also let off the hook because of the similar kind of technical merit, where basically they failed to convince the judge that this training reflected or resulted in basically the loss of revenue and opportunity for them. So that was really the case. So it's not like a generic case which basically allows any training and is lawful now. Anyway, moving on, just quick, very rapid fire news. Mira Murati's Thinking Machines Lab had closed on $2 billion at $10 billion valuation. Pretty good without any products. Why not? Anybody will take it. Meta also unveiled its Oakley smart glasses. Remember, Meta also has actually tie-up with Ray-Ban, and they have this smart glasses with them as well. Now they have also extended it to Oakley. Oakley and Ray-Ban, they are actually part of the same group, SLR. This glasses particularly is targeted towards the athletes and the active people. It has better battery. It can actually take the video in 3K and take the picture. It also can, you can interact. There is a Meta AI integrated with it, so you can interact and ask questions, as well as you can listen to the music, etc., things like that. And finally, the
And
Google DeepMind actually released a new language model called Gemini Robotics on device that can run tasks locally on robots without requiring an internet connection. The earlier in the year, Gemini actually had released a Gemini Robotics model, but that was cloud connected. So this time now it's basically a purely on edge, and there is no internet connection required. It completely is hosted within the robots, and it can do things there.
yeah, it sounds good. On those Ray-Ban glasses, by the sorry, the Oakley glasses from Meta. I know that they've got some pretty big endorsements. Patrick Mahomes is one of the poster childs that they're using as advertising. And I know my wife will probably go out and buy these just because Patrick is wearing them. But they look pretty cool and they're not that expensive. Um, Somewhere around like $400, I think, is the price tag. Anyway, um, totally switching gears outside of actually using, um, you know, those glasses. We've got some true launches. This one is from Anthropic, specifically the ability for you to build and, more importantly, share apps with Claude. So, there's always been the ability for you to build inside of Claude and use their artifacts piece, which allows you to like just see and build things. But you didn't really have a way of sharing that directly with anybody else. So, what this actually brings is the ability for developers, people, I wouldn't even call it a developer, but you can interact with your AI prompt, create something, and then share that out. So basically, this does allow developers, depending upon how you define a developer, but to create and distribute these AI based tools without having to worry about managing infrastructure or API costs. So to me, this almost seems a little bit too good to be true, but it is. You don't have to worry about APIs. You don't have to worry about cost. There's no cost. So developers pay nothing for this. You just share the app. The actual cost is on the people that's using this because they're going to use their tokens and the things that are associated with the Claude model. But this is real code, real control. So I'm going to show you this in about 2 seconds. But Claude actually writes the code. And if anyone has been doing development, you know that there's Claude Sonnet and Claude Opus. I use Sonnet all the time when I do my quote unquote vibe coding. This is sort of like no different, but it's just a nice little quick area inside of Claude itself to develop an app and then share that very simply. So again, it's super simple. So let me just show you because I think this is going to be more powerful than me talking about it. So you'll see there's a little snippet here. Actually, this is the app I'm going to show you momentarily. Now let me just share my screen.
So it sounds like a basically a sandbox in which you can develop as well as host and create, right? Gives you a full capability within that app.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the finished product, and I'll show you what this looks like. So they do have some templates, and I took their email writing assistant. If you notice, there's a URL. So this is the URL that you would share with somebody. So what this is, again, fully function application. Yes, I did use this for our YouTube AI files channel. I figured why not? So this is a writing assistant. Tell people about the AI files, which is a YouTube channel and a podcast talks about AI news. It can be found here. All right. So what out of the box, this template comes with, do an email tone, and it was professional, warm, concise, formal, casual, and persuasive. Well, in the tool itself, I told it to build one more, which was funny, right? So what it did is it changed this UI. And then if I hit generate email, again, this is all working code that is hosted by Anthropic, running against their large language model, which again is one of the Claude models. So here's the generated output. Now, this is not like earth shattering. I mean, people have been doing, hey, rewrite an email. But the point is that I can create an app hosted inside of Anthropic and then share that. So again, here's the output, right? So let me go back and share the actual content where this gets created. So now I'm going to show you sort of like behind the scenes, if you will.
Cool. I think the Anthropic is doing pretty good job in providing these kind of tools and capabilities for the developers and people who want to build things.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I'm kind of I jumped ahead 2 steps, because if you just come in here and say, yes, I want to build a new app, but that's where I started from. So I started from this email writing assistant app. I'll show you that when I'm done. But it says, yeah, here you go. And you can start to test it out. But what I did, and here's my prompt. So I basically said, add a new tone, call it funny. And as it sounds, make it the email content then get generated as a funny set content, but still true to the user's thoughts, aka the initial content. So what you'll see then is this thing went back and forth and updated my content for me. And here's the code. So this is code that it's actually running. And then when you say publish this publishes it out. I am going to do this on the fly just so you can see what's actually happening here. So I'm going to say, I'm going to say new artifact. So there's templates, and here's this writing editor, right? So I'm going to, actually, it's not the one I wanted. I want the email one. It's a little bit further down. Email writing assistant. All right. So here's the email writing assistant. And I want to customize this. So it's going to take me into their artifacts. So here's where I just showed you before. And here's the generic one. So if I gave it this prompt and let this thing rip, you're going to see what it's going to do. It's going to start to think about what it needs to do, go back to its code, and then starts updating the code, and then going back and forth to preview to make sure that what it created was correct. Now, this takes probably about 4 minutes. I'm not going to let this whole thing go, but you get the sense that I can create a very quick application, either starting for their templates, or I could just start from scratch and it will start to build that. Now, the important part when this thing is done is the publishing part. And that's the piece that is new and different, in that I could share this with anybody in the world, and it goes against their Claude tokens. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share real quick.
Pretty good. And it seems like that you can use that on the free plan as well.
Yeah, and that's the great thing, because I canceled my subscription, so I'm using the free plan with Claude, and it's going and doing its thing. If anyone knows, though, Claude has their limits are really low, so you won't be able to do too much, even with the obviously not the free tier, but even with their lowest paid tier, you will quickly run out of tokens pretty quick. So anyway, that is Claude piece. Another launch that came out is Google. They actually came out with something called Doppl, and I didn't research to find out why they call it Doppl, but I'm thinking it's your doppelganger. I don't know if that. I'm 56 years old, so I don't know if that's a term that I just know, but a doppelganger is like your clone. So I'm assuming that's why they named this. So what is this thing? So it's actually from the Google Labs. So it's an experimental app, but this is sort of like its next generation. They did have a shopping app where you can look at different clothes as an example. This is obviously related to fashion design and clothes, but you put your image in, and then you can, if you have some clothes or a picture of clothes, you bring that in as well, and then it puts it on the you as in your body. Now, if that was it, it's still kind of cool, but here's the cool part of this is that they're using VO3 video capabilities directly within this app, which, by the way, it's available for iOS and Android. So this will put clothes on your body, your doppelganger, right? And then you can animate to see what you look like in a 360 view, because it'll start to just move you around, body movement. So you could see how, the garment actually flows. how it flows, what it looks like in different scenarios or different ways that your body moves. So this to me starts to really get into this notion of being able to do home shopping, seeing what something not only looks on you, but how it's going to react as you move to your body type. So this is, I have to admit, kind of cool. So as I said, it'll go from static to dynamic based upon transforming your still images that you provide. But the important part is it goes into this video piece. And it is, again, based upon Google shopping technology, the ability to quote unquote try on different clothes or different pieces of artifacts. Again, just point out this is still experimental. It's an early development. So, there could be lots of different changes that Google does with this, but give it a try. It's available now. So you can download it to your phones and give it a whirl.
Sounds good. It's a new shiny toy for the weekend project and trying to impress my kids.
Yep.
All right. On from Google again, Gemini CLI, command line interface. Developers love that, right? The CLI and Gemini CLI is basically an open source AI agent. Yes, it's an agent that brings the power of Gemini into your terminal. So essentially, it's a lightweight access to Gemini models, giving you the direct path from your prompt to their model. It's an integrated. It also integrated by the way with the Gemini Code Assist. In fact, you need to create a free plan with Gemini Code Assist to get the access to this, and all developers can get this access then through that. Um, Basically, it gives you a direct access. It also actually works with that huge 1 million token context window of Gemini 2.5 Pro, and you have a pretty good throughput there. So it's aimed at developers. I think they're trying to get the attention. So like you can basically do things directly. There are a lot of still people who will prefer to do directly with the CLI. All right. So with that, Jamie, this week, new word that has been going around, it went a little bit viral there, and that new word is called context engineering. So what the hell is the context engineering? So the context engineering is basically, you can say that it's kind of like a superset of prompt engineering, because the context engineering involves not just the prompt engineering, right? The art and science of making a good prompt which does not confuse the model, but rather transfer your intention into what you want, your intention to instructions, right? That's a prompt engineering. But then also, like, you have to add the documents and more information and the knowledge, which generally you do through the RAG, but you can also do through the few short examples, right, etc. You also your own the current state of the chat window and the history of the conversation itself can also become part of the context, right? Remember that you can tell the model to actually act based on what they know about you, for example, things like that, right? So you can do that. You can use the memory. You can also bring in like all those kind of examples, etc. So essentially, context engineering is beyond the prompt engineering, right? It is also an art, because you got to be able to do it well. You don't want to fill the entire context window, right? So context engineering is not about just fill the entire context window. No, that would just lead to more cost. But basically just giving the right enough information rightfully, so that it can perform that task, and use them all kind of tools to it, right? The memory and the history and the RAG and the prompt engineering and the state and different kind of tools which are being also added to. That's what basically it is. And remember that somebody else also actually, and Andre Karpathy also actually kind of weighed in on this, and he said that yes, I love this term better than the prompt engineering, because it gives you more, as you can see here in the Venn diagram, that how it actually goes beyond the prompt engineering as well.
Yeah, and I love this because I heard this come up probably a few times this past week, and I look at this. Yes, the whole concept of context engineering is a great way of describing this. But I also bring this back to how do we as individuals get prepared for this new AI age? anybody listening to this is obviously already in tune to it, but we hear a lot in the news lately about AI taking jobs or how jobs are going to be changed. I think this is one where how can we think about what we do as individuals and apply our expertise into using tools? Because it's not about the prompt, it's about our context, it's about our experience, it's about our expertise that we can and should relay into these models, whether or not, I don't care if you're using Copilot, I don't care if you're using ChatGPT, Gemini, it's all the same. It's about how we're giving our experiences, our context, and doing it in an efficient manner into these models. That's the piece where, if you think about the ways that our responsibilities, jobs, or how things are going to change over time, that's a piece that I think we could all latch onto and become experts at context engineering.
True. It's an art form, right? It's a language form. It's an art form. Actually, it is also a science. So yes, it's a skill that everybody should learn. All right. Final thing, the prompt of the week. So this week, I'm just showing here on my screen a prompt that, because a lot of people, right? I mean, a lot of people who are in the projects or doing some contracts, etc., particularly, they have to actually publish a weekly status report, right? Or it could be a project status report, which may go fortnightly or monthly as well. You can use a prompt like this, like, and this particularly, like, it works really well on the Microsoft 365 Copilot, where based on the emails that you have received and the email that you have sent in the week or the period, and the meeting that you have done, and notes that you have taken, and the document that you updated, you can ask it to actually create a weekly status update. You can ask it to group the update by the project or the topic. You can ask it to keep the, like, tone like professional or casual, etc., based on the requirement. I know that a lot of people actually sometimes they spend up to half a day a week just creating these reports, right? Sometimes, unfortunately, but you can get this started, and then you can probably wrap it up in just 30 minutes and maybe enjoy a 4 day a week,
Yeah,
right? That we talked about.
yeah,
um
exactly. Go back to quote of the week comment, right?
yes, exactly. So, and that's it, Jamie. That kind of wraps up our week today. We try to keep it short.
No, that's perfect. Sounds good. And I'm actually going to copy that quote of the week, and I'm putting it into my Copilot save prompts right now because that's a time saver for sure.
Yep. Um, all right, Jimmy. Enjoy the weekend. Bye, everyone.
So
Keep
yeah,
listening.
thanks everybody.
Bye bye.